Hello and welcome back to the DaSilva Life channel. I'm so excited you guys are here because today we are in for a treat. I actually have Rachael Mueller with me today. She is a Dubsado pro, and we're actually going to have a very fun and collaborative recording today where we're going to talk about HoneyBook versus Dubsado. So the goal of this conversation is for it to be productive and positive. I know that there's a lot of biased opinions out there, even on my own channel. I talk about HoneyBook versus Dubsado or different tool comparisons, but obviously I chose one and I'm going to feature that one more, right? So I wanted to bring Rachael on so we could have unbiased opinions and you guys can be able to choose which CRM is the right fit for you and your business. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer before we dive in. These two tools are meant to solve the same problem. So there's going to be a lot of overlap. But what we really want to do is show you inside both of them. There's going to be a lot of screen sharing. And so you can see side by side how they both function, some of the pros and cons of each of them, and really ultimately make the right decision. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. I want to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about CRMs in general. So if you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Kristi DaSilva. I'm the CEO and founder of DaSilva Life. I am a HoneyBook Pro and a ClickUp verified consultant. So systems and tools are totally my jam. We help all different industries, but we're super passionate about helping consultants and agencies. We work with a ton of people in the events industry as well, like photographers, venues, you name it. We are just super passionate about helping companies not only save time, but also elevate their client experience and make their client journey super smooth. So with that, welcome, Rachael. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell everyone about your Dubsado experience.
Hey, Kristi. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun. So if we haven't met, hey, my name is Rachael. I'm a fractional CEO and systems expert. I'm also a certified ClickUp consultant and a Dubsado specialist. And I tend to work with a lot of creative entrepreneurs who are really good at what they do, not so good at the stuff behind the scenes, and they are looking to banish overwhelm and get back to doing what they love in their business.
I love it. Well, welcome, and I'm super pumped for this conversation. Okay, so before we actually dive into the specific features and UX and functionalities of HoneyBook and Dubsado, I actually want to quickly touch on why a CRM is important for business owners and who it's for. So if you're here and you haven't committed to a CRM yet, I want to make sure you're in the right place and this is the tool you actually need for your business. So if you're unfamiliar, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. HoneyBook has actually rebranded themselves to be called a client flow tool. I still think of them as CRM because when I think CRM, I think like contracts, invoices, schedulers, client portals, emails, like the things that you need to interact with your clients and customers. But either way, HoneyBook and Dubsado are both really, really great tools that help you save time and elevate your client experience. So this is important for business owners to have because they can keep everything in one place. They will have a much more professional appeal and they will not have to worry about any of their leads or clients slipping through the cracks. When you set up HoneyBook and Dubsado right, you are allowing it to really remind you when you need to nurture and follow up with your leads and clients. So Rachael, I would love for you to talk a little bit about who CRMs are for.
For sure. I think you summarized what a CRM is perfectly. And I would say that if you are a service provider, a consultant, a creative, an agency owner, if you have clients, chances are you probably need a CRM behind the scenes of your business because a CRM is going to help you manage everything from your incoming leads to client onboarding to offboarding and everything in between, like Kristi said, all in one streamlined place.
Totally agree with you. Okay, so one last little bit of intro before we actually get into the good stuff, the UX and the features of HoneyBook and ClickUp. I want to give everyone here a little bit of background of myself, how I started, and then Rachael, how you started, where you're at in your business, and what services you offer, so they can see how we actually use these CRM tools. So I actually started out as a virtual assistant 4 years ago. And to let you in on something, I actually never lived a day without HoneyBook. As I was going through this course, the Virtual Savvy totally changed my life. If you're looking to get into the VA world or the online business world, highly recommend. It was a really great starting point for me. But basically, when I was going through this course, they were talking about, you can use all these free tools. You can use like DocuSign and Calendly, et cetera, and use all the free versions and put together this client journey. Or you can use a tool like HoneyBook or Dubsado that has it all. And so at the time, I was like, okay, so I can piecemeal together all these different things and save some money, or I could spend $20 a month because it's 50% off your first year. And I can have all of these tools in one place, and it'd be super easy for me and definitely elevate my client experience. So I was like, win-win. I am like a time is money girl. So I'm like, I'm willing to invest where it's going to save me time. So I immediately knew it would elevate my client experience. I knew the $20 a month was worth it. And so I dove right in. So I also did try out some other CRM tools. I tried out Dubsado, and I'm a very visual person. And when I'm in my tools, I'm like, okay, how does this make me feel? Does it check off all the things that I need it to do? And then do I really like the UX and the functionality? And so after trying a bunch of different tools, I decided HoneyBook was for me. So how did I then end up from being a virtual assistant to now being a system strategist and a HoneyBook Pro and ClickUp verified consultant? So after some time as a VA, I just fell into this natural role of organizing people's businesses and setting up these tools for them. And I got to this point where I was like, I don't want to offer everything under the sun. It's exhausting. And I really want to focus on my business and my growth while also being able to help people and go from this chaos to this clarity. And so that's when I decided to niche down into systems. And I was like, I love HoneyBook. I love ClickUp. I'm going to take these things full time. I feel like at that time too, it wasn't like super popular to be like a systems strategist. Now it's a lot more popular, but I was like, okay, I feel like this is like what I was made to do. So that's a little bit about my journey, where I've come from starting as a VA, brand new to the online business world, to now offering these services, doing this full time with a team. So Rachael, I'd love to hear about your business journey. What led you here, and what led you to choosing Dubsado as your CRM?
So I actually started my first business about 9 years ago, and I was very busy and I felt like I was always doing something, but I was never really moving the needle forward behind the scenes. And it was very quickly that I learned I was incredibly burnt out. I was incredibly overwhelmed, and something had to change. So I started to implement tools behind the scenes, like a CRM, like a project management tool. I started learning how to delegate and to outsource and to actually ask for help, which I recognize is easier said than done sometimes. But through all of those processes and learning these tools, I realized how much better, how much easier my life was, but then also on the client side of things. Working with clients got easier, closing sales got easier, working with people just became smoother. And I realized that these tools were the answer to basically all the problems that I was having behind the scenes. So I went from feeling totally burnt out to now actually having time to work on the things that moved things forward. And it was a complete game changer. So with all of that knowledge that I had from running our first business, I actually founded Hey Rachael Consulting in 2020. And I realized very quickly there were a lot of other business owners who were so good at what they do, but they started their business to do the things they're passionate about and maybe weren't so good at all the stuff behind the scenes. And so being able to step in, take all of that experience, that knowledge, and the tools that I learned from the first business, and being able to help people implement those exact same strategies into their businesses has just been incredible. I actually started with HoneyBook, fun fact, but then I decided to swap over to Dubsado because I wanted more when it came to my automations. And we'll probably get into this in a little bit, but I found that Dubsado was able to just give me a little bit more when it came to my automations, my workflows, really making my client onboarding and leads process really streamlined. And then in 2021, I actually became certified as a Dubsado specialist. And here we are.
I love it. Love it. And you brought up so many amazing points, but I think just like going back to that, you're not only saving time and elevating your client experience, and it's easier to close sales and onboard, but you're getting back to the thing that you do best. And you're having more time to invest back into your business to grow and scale it. That compounds over time. And especially when it comes to systems, like when you have these things mapped out in your tools, you're able to so much easier bring on team members to come in and take over that process. Whether it's take it over 100% or take it over 50%, by setting up your systems, it's going to help you scale in so many ways.
Right? I mean, when you're the only one doing all the things behind the scenes, if you don't have a process, if you don't have tools, if you don't have systems, how are you supposed to have somebody else step in and help you if it's all living rent-free in your brain?
100%. 100%. Okay, so now let's actually dive in. I'm going to share my screen and then Rachel's going to show hers. And we're actually just going to touch on the general UX and feel of HoneyBook and then Dubsado. Okay, so here we are in my mock HoneyBook account where you can see this is the home screen. Now, yours may not look like this at this time because they are like using a different version of the home screen. This is the newer version, which not everyone has access to. But I really love the new UX of the home screen. Up at the top, you're going to see this banner, which is like the most important information. Do you have any new leads, unrun messages, tasks, and then your 2024 or whatever year it is, your bookings for the year total. You'll be able to see leads, calendar, widgets, activity. So these are just a bunch of different widgets that you can see what's going on and getting that pulse check on your company. You'll also see this pop up. You may not see it, but I'm seeing it now, which I want to touch on, is that they are constantly creating new updates. There has been a slew of updates with HoneyBook in the last few months. One of these things is tags, which I'm so stoked about. So that's where you can kind of take your organization to another level. So that would be definitely super helpful in the project pipeline and then also in the project portals themselves. So here you'll be able to see the pipeline. You can actually customize this and automate it. And so this is where you're going to be able to get a pulse check on how many clients or leads you have in each category. So how many inquiries are there? How many proposals do you have out? How many people are you currently onboarding? Whose projects are in progress? Who's in the support phase and who has been completed? So you can see all of them in active projects, and then you can click into these different stages to see who's where. Then when you actually click into a project, this is going to be the client portal where you can see all the information about that project. You'll be able to send them files back and forth, schedule meetings, upload different information. So this is a really amazing feature within HoneyBook and Dubsado where you can have all the information about that project in one singular place. Then let me actually hop into my regular account where we're going to talk about the templates. Okay, so now we are in the tools, my templates, where you'll see that we can have folders for each of the different template types. These are called smart files. If you are not familiar, I will dive deeper into this once we get into the client management and sending proposals and things like that. So you'll see I can click into here and have everything really neatly organized, access all my emails in one place. And then you can also see the different things like schedulers, automations. Let me click into an automation and show you what that looks like. So this is what the look and feel of automations look like, which we'll dive into this a little bit deeper, but I just wanted to show you really the UX and feel of what HoneyBook looks like. Once you go into company settings, you can see you can manage all of this information in one place, your company branding, and really make everything super sleek and branded to your business. So that is the general UX of HoneyBook. I hope that lets you get a little bit more of the feel of it inside. And now let's go ahead and see what Dubsado looks like.
Welcome to Dubsado. So on your home screen of Dubsado, you'll see it obviously visually looks different, but it essentially shows the same thing that you're going to see on your HoneyBook side. So you're going to have anything that is important, need to know, needs your attention right up at the very top of your screen. So if you have any workflows, automations that require your attention, contracts that need to be signed, invoices that are overdue. That's all going to be front and center. Next, you're going to have your calendar. So one of my favorite things, HoneyBook does this too, but one of my favorite things about Dubsado is being able to integrate your calendar with your scheduler. So you're able to have those speak to each other and show you, one, your Dubsado scheduled events, but then also anything else in all of your calendars can live here too. And they work together, they talk together very seamlessly to make sure that you're not overbooking yourself, etc. You also, from the home screen, you can see your financials. There's also ways in the settings that you can have kind of like an at a glance. So I'll hop in there just to show you, if you wanted to change your dashboard settings, you can have something called your financial indicators, which will then show you at a glance any open invoices, your goals, etc., and just so you can see monetarily where things are at. By default, I actually tend to turn these off because I find that you can see these numbers in your bookkeeping and that can show you a more accurate representation. And then it helps keep everything a little bit cleaner. Okay, when it comes to your Dubsado pipeline, I love how you are able to organize things here because you can create as many buckets as you want and you can customize these very specifically for your flow, for your process. So you can see here, I've kept this very simple in my test account, but we have something called new leads. So leads are going to be anyone that's coming in that hasn't paid an invoice, signed a contract, booked a project yet. And then you've got your jobs. So that would be anyone that is a current client, signed the contracts, paid the invoice, etc. But you can create as many of these as you want to. So let's say you have multiple types of projects and jobs and you want to organize those by different files, you absolutely can. And then you can just drill down to view only those projects in one specific area if you wanted to. Now, when it comes to the client portal and file and viewing area itself, I find that the best way to think about this is think about a file folder. Remember those? I like to think of your client space, your project, as your folder. And then within that, you've got all of your different files. So you've got emails, invoices, forms, appointments, your workflows, and then tasks and notes are all internal. So I find notes is actually a really great way to keep track of things for your leads. If you're having conversations with people, it's really great to be able to take those notes and then keep track of them within that project. So at any time you can come back to them and refresh your memory. Dubsado also has a really robust client portal. So when somebody, as the client, when they are reviewing things from the outside looking in, they will only see what you want them to see. On their client portal, they'll be able to see the projects that they have open with you, email correspondence, and then any forms and information that you have sent them, such as intake forms, their contracts, their invoices, what needs to get paid, etc. And they can kind of see all of this at a glance. So this is a really nice hub that you're able to share with people. And that way they have access to anything that they need at any time. And they're able to click through and find those things without needing to reach out to you and say, hey, where's my invoice? Hey, where's that form again? It's all right here for them. Okay, so in Dubsado, when it comes to forms, everything is categorized in one area. So you've got everything from your contracts, sub-agreements, questionnaires, your proposals, and lead capture. Now, Dubsado categorizes proposals essentially as your contract, booking, invoice package all in one. So when I say proposal, that's what I'm referring to. Questionnaires are going to be anything that is internal. So if you were sending your client a brand questionnaire or an intake form or a feedback form, anything like that, anything where you are sending something to somebody that already exists, that's going to be what questionnaires are for. And then you've got lead capture. You can have as many lead capture forms as you want, but essentially a lead capture form is bringing somebody into your Dubsado. So this is great. Think about it as like your contact form on your website or your link in bio on your Instagram. This is a great way to be able to start that process so that you're not manually adding people into Dubsado, and it can kick off your automations for you automatically. Now let's talk automations. This is seriously my favorite thing about Dubsado is because they are so robust. There's so much that you can do behind the scenes with your Dubsado automations. So just to give you kind of a general idea, here is what your workflow automation station looks like. And this is where you are able to create all those automations behind the scenes. One thing I will say, my favorite thing about the Dubsado automations is that you can actually have multiple automations connected to one project at any time. So you can have a new lead workflow. When somebody fills out your website contact form, it kicks off the new lead workflow. And then that could actually automatically start client onboarding if you wanted to. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of feed these into one another and really help keep the needle moving forward. When it comes to your Dubsado branding, I love how specific you're able to be because you can really make the Dubsado match your branding behind the scenes, everywhere from your logo to your colors, all the way down to even your email signature, which is really nice. And the best part is when you're emailing somebody from within your Dubsado, so if you're sending them an email, sending them a form, whatever that looks like, they don't actually know that it's coming from your Dubsado. It doesn't say anything about being sent from Dubsado. It looks like it's just coming from your regular email inbox, which keeps it really clean and efficient that way. So when it comes to your brand settings behind the scenes, there's some very basic things that you can set up, such as your logo, your brand colors. You're also able to fully customize your portal settings behind the scenes as well. So when somebody is clicking on the client portal, you're able to customize exactly what they're seeing here. And that can be an extension of your branding and make everything feel really cohesive. You're also able to integrate your email signature here within your Dubsado. And so you can have this again be just like an extension of your regular Gmail workspace inbox. And so this can look and feel exactly the same. So whether somebody's emailing you directly or they're emailing you through your Dubsado, they don't know the difference.
All right. So now we're going to touch on client management. We're going to show you through the client portal, the different features. After that, we're going to get into the actual files. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let me show you some client portal features with HoneyBook. Okay, so here we are in the company settings. You can see domain and client portal. You can actually see that you can add a subdomain. So ours is portal.dasilvalife.com, which makes it super easy for our existing clients to log in and see the information that they need about their project. You can also customize the screen, so change the colors, logos, and things like that. And then when I come into the client portal, this is what I see, right? You can change the banner to be specific to that client or that project type. You'll see the name of the project type, the dates that this is going on. You can add the clients, you can add other clients or collaborators to this portal as well. And you can communicate directly in this portal. Now, just like Rachel mentioned, you can also link your Gmail so that anytime you're emailing in HoneyBook, it's actually coming from your specific email instead of mailman@HoneyBook. Now, anything in this gray color will not be visible to your client. So they can't see what stage they're in, the lead source. Here's where you can see the different tags, like I mentioned, which I really love. Then you can add any additional team members here, see the project finances, time tracked, automations, etc. And here you're going to be able to see all of the updates and communication, whether the client viewed or opened the emails, when they opened them, etc. So you'll also be able to schedule meetings, upload files, and then send HoneyBook files as well. When you click on files, you'll be able to see any drafts or sent files. You'll be able to see any upcoming payments, also a place to add notes. This is actually a new feature. And then the project details, which once again, the client can see this, but they can't see some other things within the portal, which I'll show you in a second. So what's great about this is when you add a client to the portal or you add team members, it's keeping the entire team in the loop, whether it's our team or the client's team. Anything sent in the portal will go to everyone that's added to that project. So you don't have to keep people in the loop. It's just automatically going to be sent to each of their emails. So what does this look like on the client end? So here's the login screen, like I mentioned, super branded to DaSilva Life. And then when you log in, you're going to be able to see all of the projects that you have, and each project will have their own portal. So you can see it's just a little bit more simplified version, but looks very similar to what we have on our end. So as a client, I can see all the information and updates. I can't see when the DL team has read messages, which is great on our end. And then you can see files, who's on the project, payments, notes, and then any project details. You can also, so you can see the project details here a little bit more simplified. Then you can also upload files to the portal directly. So this is where you can store all of your files. Like instead of having a Google Drive folder, you can upload them all here and they're right in HoneyBook. Okay, so now that we went through the client portal and what that looks like, let's talk about scheduling. So we come into Tools and Scheduler. You'll see all the different schedulers that we have here. This is one of my favorite things in HoneyBook. I know it's a simple feature, but it makes my life so much easier. So this can absolutely replace things like Calendly or Acuity. Dubsado has a scheduler as well. And so in here, you'll be able to set your availability. You'll be able to do round robin as well for different team members. So say for a sales team, if you want to say, okay, I will take a call, then the next one will show Jeff's availability, then it'll show Andrea's availability, and it will cycle those calls between those team members. I think this is a really great feature for people that need that for their team. This actually links with your Google Calendar or Outlook or different calendars as well, where it will see if you are busy or your team member is busy. And then the client will just be able to select from the availability and book a call without having to waste hours going back and forth. You'll also see that different team members have different schedulers as well, so they can set up theirs on their end, and they integrate their Google Calendar with their HoneyBook, so then it's reading their availability. And lastly, let's talk about teams. If I come into the project pipeline, you'll see that each team member has their own pipeline as well. So like I mentioned, you can add different team members to projects, and then you can see who is involved in which project. So I think that about covers it in terms of client management and how you can get your team involved with HoneyBook. Now I will pass the mic over to Rachael so she could show client management in Dubsado.
Okay, similar to Kristi, the Dubsado scheduler is actually one of my favorite features because I don't have to use Acuity, I don't have to use Calendly, I can schedule any kind of appointment, as many different types of appointments as I want to schedule, all here within one place. So within Dubsado, you can have as many different meeting types as you like. Each one can also have their own settings. So you can have your own availability, links, etc., whatever that looks like. But one of the best features when it comes to the Dubsado scheduler is you can actually have paid appointments. So if you ever wanted to have an option where somebody can book a call with you, if they can book a 30-minute meeting, whatever that looks like, book a strategy session, you can actually have an invoice. You can allow discounts to be applied to that. So you can link directly to a paid calendar book with me link and have somebody start their booking process right there without ever having to send them a separate invoice or get super complicated. Now, when it comes to the client project itself, the way that this works is everything that you're seeing here is your internal view versus what it looks like as the client on the client portal side of things. So when you're inside here, you'll see that you've got your emails, you've got forms, you've got all the appointments, etc. These all live here, but then your client will only see what you want them to see and what you have sent them on their portal side of things. So when they log into their client portal, they'll see this welcome area where they're able to log in, and then that will take them directly into their portal area. Now you can see here on my test account, this just shows portal.dubsado.com, very generic, very boring, but you're actually able to completely brand this very similar to in HoneyBook within your settings, and you can have this be completely branded as an extension of your website and your branding. So in your client portal settings, you're able to have that be an extension of you. Like I said earlier, you can change colors, view, branding, etc., whatever it is that you want that to look like. Okay, so when it comes to multi-users or teams behind the scenes of your Dubsado, you are able to grant additional users the ability to see certain parts of your brand behind the scenes. So for example, let's say that you have a salesperson or you have an assistant who automatically is the one that should be getting new leads assigned to them, or if you want them to be able to help you with your onboarding, sending contracts, etc., you can automatically have those things happen behind the scenes. You can invite up to 3 people for free, just included in your Dubsado. So you can easily assign these to different people. So if you want them to be an admin, to be able to see everything, are they only a member? Do you only want them to get seen certain people or certain projects? It's up to you to decide how you want that to work. But you can set it up so that somebody is automatically assigned a new lead when it pops into your project. So you can select your team member here. If I had added somebody into my test account, I'd be able to just type their name in here. I would pop up and I could assign that to this person to be able to manage. So when they logged into their Dubsado under my brand, they would then be able to see all of the projects, all the leads that have been assigned to them. And you can do this automatically through your forms actually. So in the back end of your forms, we'll get into this in a little bit. You're getting a sneak preview here, but you can see here that you can automatically assign team members new leads. So when somebody flows in, if you want to make sure that any new leads from this form go to a certain person versus a different form goes to somebody else, that's totally an option. And the last thing that I'll touch on when it comes to teams and managing multiple moving parts is that you can actually have just one Dubsado login, but manage multiple brands. So what I mean is if you log in with, let's say I'm logging in with my hey@heyrachel.com account, what will happen when I log in is it won't just take me to my home screen, it will actually pop up a list of brands and I can choose, am I logging into my account? Am I logging into client A account, client C account, etc.? And I can choose where I'm going. The benefit of this for you is that you might have different facets or multiple businesses behind the scenes. And this way you can have multiple brands all within one login. And it makes it super easy to manage and jump between multiple accounts.
All right, so now that we touched on client management, we want to dive into really the builders of HoneyBook and Dubsado when it comes to templates. In HoneyBook, these are called smart files. So I'm going to share my screen and go into what smart files are. Okay, so here we are in Tools, My Templates. I'm actually going to talk about smart files, contact forms, and then lead forms as well. So what are the differences between those three? Let's touch there. Smart files are anything that you want them to be. They can be a contract, an invoice, a proposal, which is a fancy term for a contract and invoice, like a booking file in one place. It could be a brochure, a style guide. But the thing about smart files is the lead or client has to be added as a project to a project portal in order to be able to send them a smart file. For lead forms and contact forms, that is not the case. So it actually starts with a contact form and a lead form. So let me start there before we dive into smart files. Here you'll see our default contact form. We have a couple different contact forms. And just like Rachel mentioned, in these settings, you can also assign specific team members to be the project owner. And then you can have other team members be a workspace participant or leads participant. So in the contact form, you can actually embed this on your website. Let me go to DaSilva Life Contact. And this looks just like my website, but it's actually HoneyBook. So the great thing about this is when the lead inquires, it's then going to trigger an automation, which we'll get into next, depending on what project type they're looking for. So the contact form is a public link that can be shared just as the link or embedded into a website. A lead form is very similar. It can be shared via a public link, but this can be much more robust. For example, say you wanted to have a page strategy session. So you can't do this in the scheduler itself like you can in Dubsado, like Rachel showed, but you can create a lead form that has a strategy session scheduler embedded, has some questions, and then has an invoice and a payment attached. So as you can see, this is basically, in simple terms, like a public smart file. Anyone who has this link can just go ahead and access that information. Then we get into smart files. So let me go ahead and pop back into my templates and let's go through these templates. So we actually sell all of these templates in our shop. You could either buy a single template or you can buy a bundle of these templates. And I want to just show you quickly the functionality of smart files. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hop into the proposal because in the proposal, it shows multiple different things that you can do in smart files. So you can add these different content blocks. You can see I really love the UX and the design and the sleekness of building these files. You can add these different content blocks. You can choose some preset layouts or you can just start blank. You can also reuse content blocks from other templates as well. You can apply your company branding to the template. So say you purchase a template from us or you download one in the HoneyBook template library, then you can just apply your branding and then it will automatically bring in a bunch of those features to make the process a lot easier. Here you can see you can add different text, embed videos. Let me go into preview mode so you can see how this functions. You can add images, and it honestly looks like a mini website. So here's where you're like promoting the services. You can then move on where the client can then sign their contract, pay their invoice, submit their payment, and book their project all in one place. You can also see that I can view this on mobile view. So I really love Smart Files and the functionality. Let me go ahead and show you one more type of Smart File, which is the pricing guide. So here you'll see this is just a single page brochure. Now this can be automatically sent to them. We'll get into that next when we go into automations. That's really just showcasing you as a brand. So about us, about our team, our process, pricing. So this is really great as well. If someone inquires and you don't have your prices on your website, because maybe you want to gatekeep them a little bit because of competitors or just making sure that they don't get sticker shock, whatever your reasoning is, you can still then give them what they want, which is pricing when they inquire, and then prompt the next steps like, hey, let's schedule a discovery call. So you can see all the different things that you can embed in here. You can add schedulers, you can add service selections, you can add contracts, invoice, payment. And the HoneyBook Builder is just so easy to be able to add images and text and videos and things like that to really showcase your brand well. Okay, so now that you got a chance to see what Smart Files look like, I really just want to touch on them because they are a beast. You can go so far into these, but we actually have an entire playlist on our channel. I'll make sure to link it in the description about HoneyBook Smart Files. So you can actually watch that if you want more information on how to create a brochure or a contract, add smart fields, etc. Go ahead and check that out. But now let's actually dive into what templates and files look like in Dubsado.
Okay, so with Dubsado, like I mentioned earlier, you can have multiple lead capture forms, and this is what is bringing people into your Dubsado automatically. So the way that you have this set up is you can have your lead capture form. You can ask, design this however you like. We'll get into design in just a second. But then the benefit of this is you can embed this form, very similar to the HoneyBook form, onto your website. So here's my Hey Rachael website, and here's my contact form, which looks like a seamless integration on my website, but this is actually my HoneyBook contact form. And when somebody sends this message, it's going to add them as a project, notify me, and kick off their automation behind the scenes so that it's really easy to keep everything in my Dubsado from the get-go and get things going. Now, when it comes to the form builder behind the scenes of Dubsado, no matter if you're working on a contract, lead form, a proposal, a template, whatever it is, any kind of template, the builder all works the same. So when you're here within your Dubsado builder, you are able to organize things pretty deeply in that you can have containers. So you're able to just drag and drop items into your Dubsado builder and then click through the settings from there. So let's say in this container, I want to have one column, I want to make it wide, and I want to add my logo up at the top, and I would just go ahead and select my logo, and then I'm able to dive in a little bit deeper as far as scaling it and changing colors and adding background images and things like that. So you can start to stack and layer. But where Dubsado goes, I think one step further is you can actually see here in your form styling, custom CSS. So you are able in Dubsado to actually add custom coding. And so I have seen some pretty amazing Dubsado designers out there who have been able to make these forms, these templates in their Dubsado look like a full extension of their website with custom everything essentially, and make it really, really branded and beautiful. So I think the biggest difference from the HoneyBook builder to the Dubsado builder, in my opinion, is just the robustness, right? How deep are you wanting to go? How easy are you wanting it to feel? Is it drag and drop, click and drop, or are you wanting to do something that's a little bit more customized, kind of helps you understand which one might be better for you? Okay, so when it comes to something like your proposal, this is where you're able to really build out something that's going to be a little bit more robust. You can add your packages, you can add add-ons, you can add as many things here as you want, and you're able to break this up however you see fit. You can have this be different blocks, you can have this be different sections, whatever that feels good for you. And then from there, you can have a contract connected to it. You can have the client select multiple packages. So for example, if they are going to be selecting their main package, and then we want them to also be able to add these add-ons, they can select multiple things. You can include an invoice. You can automatically apply their payment plan. And then from there, if we were to click on preview, this is essentially what it would look like from the client side of things. So they would see this cover letter proposal that would have all the details about their project. They're able to select and move things forward, and then they would click over into the contract and then over into their invoice. I'm not able to pull that up right away because I am viewing this just as the back end, but I can pull it up and show you what this would look like as a client. So if you're viewing this as your client, you'll be able to select your packages as you see fit. And then from there, you're able to move on to a contract. And then you can also move on to the invoice. And then invoicing with Dubsado is connected through Stripe, Square, or PayPal. You can also do ACH if you want to, and you can turn on automatic payments if that was something that was really important to you. That's also a feature.
All right. And lastly, let's talk automations. This is where it's like the magic wand of these tools. You set them up, you make them so robust and beautiful, but using automations are what's really going to save you so much time and energy to let these tools do the heavy lifting for you. So I'm going to go ahead and show what automations look like in HoneyBook. Then Rachel's going to take over and talk about how they look in Dubsado. Okay, so in the tools automations, you'll see that you can have multiple different automations for different services. And these can be triggered upon the contact form or lead form submission. So if someone inquires saying they're interested in a HoneyBook setup, it'll trigger this inquiry HoneyBook setup automation. So you can decide what client journey you want to bring them down depending on what stage they're in, whether they're a new lead or you already got on a sales call with them. Now you want to send them the proposal and follow up with them, to booking, onboarding, service fulfillment, all the way until the project close. So I really love how this builder looks in automations. Now, Rachel's going to go over this, but just to touch on, Dubsado is definitely more robust when it comes to automations. Personally, there are some things that I wish automations had, but I know HoneyBook's working on it, but it still does what I need it to do. So I'm not sitting here each day being like, man, I'm wasting all this time. It does really what I need it to do in the end. So for example, you can see that when you click into this trigger, this automation is activated when someone inquires and says they're interested in HoneyBook setup. And then it's going to send them the HoneyBook services brochure and then the first email. So like, thanks so much for inquiring. We know HoneyBook can change the game for you. Click the link to get more information, schedule a consult call, etc. And then they can click on the HoneyBook services brochure. From there, you can decide when you want this to trigger, how many days after the automation is activated, project date, file actions, payments, scheduler, and if you want this to be approved before sending or not. So we want that to send automatically because immediate satisfaction. But then 24 hours later, we want to prompt a follow-up, but we want to be able to insert a personal note and check if this person has booked a call or anything like that. So then you'll be able to really nurture your clients so well when you have these set up. Now, disclaimer, Rome was not built in a day. Take this one step at a time. Definitely gain inspiration from what I have here, but you can set up the most basic form of automation by when someone inquires, you send an autoresponder that's like, hey, got your inquiry. I'll reach back out in 2 days. So know that it doesn't have to look exactly like this. So you can see we have some follow-ups. You can also move the pipeline stage. So we actually don't just follow up 3 times in the first 2 weeks. We then follow up 3 months later. And then you can see if they do book a call, it'll automatically move them to book call. And then you can have tasks in here as well. So you can send emails, create tasks, send smart files or legacy files, and move pipeline stages currently. Right now, you can only have one automation attached to a project at a time. That's important to know. Where Dubsado, you can have multiple. And you also have to manually delete automations and apply a second one. So an automation can definitely be triggered from the contact form, but then in terms of adding and deleting automations from there, you'll have to do that manually. So I hope that gives you a little taste of the power of automations. Again, we also have other videos on our channel that dive deeper into this, but I just wanted to show you that visual and give you that basic functionality. All right, Rachel, now let's see what automations look like in Dubsado.
Okay, so within Dubsado, automations are really robust. And this is one of my favorite things about Dubsado is you can kind of do anything that you want when it comes to sending people things, following up, checking in, all of that good stuff behind the scenes. So let's take it back to that new lead form that we were talking about earlier. When you've created that form, you can actually then attach a workflow to the project, and that will kick things off for them in the automation. So if we take it over to the workflow side of things, we can now see here on our new lead workflow that's attached to this form that it will automatically send them an email, this automated response, very quickly, shortly after the workflow has started. So once they filled out that form, they're going to get that email. Then a day later, I or your team or whoever you have this set up with will get prompted to send the appointment scheduler meet and greet. So let's actually dive into that a little bit deeper so you can see that on a deeper level. So the way that the Dubsado workflows work is you add your action and you can select any kind of action from this list. Do you want to change the project status? So moving it in your project pipeline. Are you adding tags? Are you sending them an email? Are you sending them a form, etc.? You can see there's a lot that you're able to do here. Everything you can choose. Is it automatic or are you approving it before sending? And you can also choose, do you want this to be something that's happening behind the scenes or do you want this to be something that is client facing? For example, do you want to send a form that is only going to their client portal, but they don't get an email about it yet because you're not ready for them to know, hey, this form is on your portal. Or maybe you want to go ahead and automatically tag them as a different type of project. Whatever that looks like, there are some things that can happen behind the scenes versus some things that can be client facing. Now, once you select whatever your action is, that's when Dubsado is going to prompt you to move forward in the process. So your action is sending an email. When do you want to send that email? In this case, with our new lead workflow, you can see that we're sending this pretty quickly after the workflow has begun. And then we are selecting our email template that we want to send. I'm a big fan of GIFs behind the scenes, and you're able to insert those into your email if you want to. Whatever you want this to look like, this is all connected in your project templates canned email section. And then you're able to select that, add that, and boom, now that first step has been applied to the project. Now, talking about that next step where we talked about approve before sending, this is where you can choose, is this happening automatically or are you saying, wait, nope, I need to approve this before this actually happens? So you would then in your process, you would at the very top here, you would make sure you're checking or unchecking that action step. And then Dubsado is going to alert you, notify you and say, hey, there's workflow action needs your approval, and you can pop in and approve that step. And like I mentioned earlier, you can choose, do you want to send the client the email? Do you want to apply it to the portal? Or do you want to apply it to the project? Applying it to the project is basically putting it in the back end of their project and saying, hold this here, we're not ready to do anything with it. Applying it to their portal just puts it on their portal. So if they were to log in, they would see it, but they don't get notified. And then if you are sending them an email and applying it to the portal, that is doing both, right? You're putting it on their client portal so they can access it whenever they want. And you're also saying, hey, here's an email. Here's what you need to know. Let's do this thing. Now, within Dubsado, you are able to also have multiple workflows on a project. So for example, if you wanted to, for your new lead process, let's say you also wanted to kick off their onboarding after an appointment has happened or after they have signed the contract, you start the next onboarding automation. That's totally possible. Dubsado can talk to itself and start things, pause things, stop things, add things, however you see fit. I am actually hosting a free workshop coming up very soon. So if you are interested in going through your lead experience and understanding how to get started building this out, how to actually take your manual process and turn it into something that is more automated, more efficient, better, then I highly recommend that you come join me. It's a free workshop. We're going to be diving into exactly how you can automate this client experience from the very tippy top when somebody is a new lead reaching out on your website, making sure they're not falling through the cracks, getting lost in your email purgatory, and you're really creating an amazing experience from the get-go.
Love that. So if you need support that, definitely go ahead, check out that workshop. I will make sure to link it in the description of this video. So I know that is so much information. If you guys are still with us here, congrats. So let's go ahead and just wrap up talking about where HoneyBook and Dubsado really stand out from the competition. And then we're going to talk about some practical things and how to get started. So I'll go first. Where does HoneyBook stand out from its competition? I really think the sleek UX and ease of use is something that really makes it stand out above the rest. The fact that you can download some templates and easily add things to HoneyBook and really get the hang of it quickly, I really love that about HoneyBook and the clients that we serve with it as well. It has consistent new updates. The smart files are really easy to use and adapt to, and they also have a really elevated client experience. Also, the HoneyBook Teams feature, I definitely think, if you're an agency or you have team members that you need involved in the project, that is a super awesome feature. And then also, we didn't even get into this today, but HoneyBook has some really great finance features as well that are new. They're still being added to. Currently, this is a rather newer feature, but those are definitely just a few of the many things that I personally love about HoneyBook, and I think that makes it stand out from its competition. What about Dubsado, Rachel?
Totally. So I think the first thing, most important thing that we have to mention, HoneyBook, unfortunately, is not available worldwide, but Dubsado is. So it is totally international. Depending on where you live, you are totally able to use Dubsado within many, many countries, which is fantastic. I think, like I've highlighted before, the robust workflows and automations truly is one of my favorite things about Dubsado because it really is able to walk your clients through the entire experience very efficiently, very automated, and make things so much easier for you behind the scenes as well. So it doesn't feel like things are dropping, falling through the cracks, which is awesome. You can also completely customize your forms, right? Being able to use code and that kind of thing, if that's really important for you, if you really want to have a design focus, if you have a design focused business, if you're a designer, your form should look like it, right? So that's important for you to be able to really build out something that showcases your work and what you're able to do for people. And you can do that behind the scenes. I also really love that Dubsado is totally branded and white labeled, like truly. Even when you are sending an email to somebody, it doesn't look like it's coming from Dubsado, and that's really nice. And that kind of ties into the Dubsado portal too, where you can really have this customized branded hub where they're able to view all their things about their project in one place. It looks seamless and integrated with your branding and your company behind the scenes. And it's a small thing, but you can add gifts to your email. I love that. I don't think you can do that in HoneyBook still. And so I really love that that is a little feature. I'm pretty sure 99% of my email templates have gifts in them, and I will not apologize for that.
I love that. I love gifts too, and I'm waiting for the day HoneyBook adds this. But thank you for sharing, Rachel. So let's wrap up and talk about some practical tips and advice for people that are considering using HoneyBook or Dubsado for their own businesses. So I would first say definitely try both tools out. They both have free trials. Try and see which one makes you feel more comfortable. If you're outside the US and Canada, obviously, clear choice right here is Dubsado. And also, if you need more robust features, Dubsado could be a good fit. If you're technologically inclined, awesome, go for it. If you need more support, you know where to find Rachel. Do you have anything to add in terms of practical tips as well for our viewers, Rachel?
For sure. So jumping into a new tool can always feel so overwhelming, especially if you are not technologically inclined. It can feel really like it's a lot to learn. So two things. Take it small. Baby steps are the way to go. Really jump into these tools and see, look at the features, decide what feels best for you and your business. I will say Dubsado has an amazing, robust kind of university behind the scenes on their YouTube channel, and they walk through in great detail how to set things up, how to use things, how that works. And so you can absolutely start there to kind of start to get the hang of it. You can also obviously hire a specialist to help you with that. But where I think a lot of people miss a step and kind of jump ahead is they're not starting from the very beginning. Before you jump in and you start trying to build an automation or set up your schedule or whatever that looks like, really take the time to think, what do you want this experience to look like, right? What is your lead journey, your client experience, and start from the very tippy top, mapping out this process. When someone reaches out on my website, I want this to happen. When somebody books a project with me, I want this to happen. Really walk through step by step. And then from there, you're going to have a really good idea for the templates you need to create, for the scheduler types you need to create, for the emails that you need to write. And then you can take those things baby step, one at a time, jump into creating your automations, baby step, one at a time. And before you know it, you have knocked out a lot more of that behind the scenes versus the intimidation of looking at this blank screen and thinking, I have no idea where to begin.
Such good points there. Thank you, Rachel. So if you decide that HoneyBook or Dubsado is the right fit for you, number one, we are going to drop our links in the description. Not only the links to sign up and potentially get a discount on your subscription, also links of where people can find us. We personally have a HoneyBook course. We have HoneyBook templates. We have a ton of free resources on our channel, our YouTube channel as well. I know Rachel mentioned she has an upcoming workshop as well. That will be in the description. Rachel, how can people connect with you and find you?
For sure. So I live on Instagram. You can find me at hey.Rachael. Rachael is Rachael. Thank you, Mom and Dad. You can also find my website, heyrachel.com. And I, like I said, have that workshop coming up, which will be on June 26th. So if you're wanting to join for that, I look forward to seeing you there.
Well, this has been such a blast. As a reminder, these are both two amazing tools. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you guys and bringing you to a clearer decision of which one is the right fit for you. You now know where to find us both if you need any other help setting up HoneyBook or Dubsado. Remember to seek help if you need it. Trust the process, commit to it. It is so worth it. So if this video was helpful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for all the productivity and client experience tips and tools. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, Rachel, thank you for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.